Hi, everybody. This is Jason Tempinski, Level 2 QHHT practitioner, psychic medium, psychic soul body wellness, and spiritual counselor. Just like to welcome you to Ask Jason Episode 4. It's a series that I'm dedicating to answering viewer questions, also other questions coming through email and comments on these videos in order to help you with spiritual understanding and awareness and expansion. So if you do have a question for me, please post in the comments below, or you're more than welcome to send me a question or two through email. My email address is jason@jasonqhht.com. So today, if you've seen the previous episodes, if you have not, you're more than welcome to take a look. I've been talking about healing as it relates to not only my work as a QHHT practitioner that includes past life regression and speaking with people's higher selves, also spirit teams, how we can best approach understanding healing for a time where there's a lot of changes going on. And I feel like, just based on my experience, a lot of people are looking for something more and something different in terms of harnessing and empowering ourselves in terms of physical body and physical well-being. And not only that, but it's all connected. So spiritual well-being, emotional well-being. So those were the first couple of episodes in terms of our belief systems, collective belief systems, how those can limit us or keep us back from achieving our full potential. My second episode was and third episode were about just really learning how we have to open ourselves up to healing and what we have to do. Not letting physical ailments, chronic illness, and disease really limit us, and limit us in the sense of that we identify with them so much that we really lose a sense of self. So if those topics interest you, definitely take a quick look at those videos. Today, I do want to actually back up a little bit. I have had some really great questions come through on the videos. There are two that I am going to talk about today. They're pretty interconnected, and in fact, I think one answers the other a little bit more than I expected. But the point of this today is I'm realizing that I just need to kind of talk about the intricacies of how, we have these past lifetimes, and in fact, we've had thousands, probably more than thousands of lifetimes throughout the course of our existence. And I think it can get to the point where it feels a little overwhelming, or possibly a little making us fearful in terms of, how am I going to function in this life if I have all these other things to worry about? I mean, one lifetime, this lifetime's enough. What do I need to worry about? How do I incorporate this knowledge, and how do I better understand my life plan and path and what I'm supposed to be doing in this life? Granted, it is a lot of information, and we have been through a lot, and these past lifetimes or other lifetimes can really impact us in this lifetime in certain ways. But I have to ask everyone just to take a little breath. It's not having this knowledge really, it's important, but the focus should always be on the present lifetime. And in fact, I've learned this through my work as a past life regressionist, a QHHT practitioner, that really the essential purpose of doing this type of work and discovering past lifetimes and communicating with our higher selves, it's all about this current present lifetime that we're here, aware of now. The one you're experiencing, watching me now, is the most important. And we just do this work in terms of reaching out to other lifetimes, trying to understand them, to learn how to move forward in the best way possible in this present life. So that's the first thing. I'm going to go ahead and post this first question. Actually, it's from Soul Inquiries. I did have to condense it down a little bit. She asked me, what role do past life experiences play in our current life plan? We have all died in so many different ways with struggles and trauma. How or what do I need to do in this life? This is a great and excellent question. I'll attempt to answer it in the most simplest way, because it's really not supposed to halt us in our tracks, because definitely we did come here, we did plan out this lifetime for a purpose and a reason, and we can't get distracted by living in the past, whether it be in this lifetime or other lifetimes. So the core and the crux of this question is, you really don't have to do anything. It's just being aware and cognizant of what's occurring in this life, and particularly with regard to patterns. Patterns are one of the most key aspects of a life path. So if you've been repeating the same thing over and over and over again, bad relationships or toxic relationships, or you keep worrying about money, which came up from another viewer from last week as well. If you're currently experiencing, a fear of not having enough money, or the key is the patterns. And also these patterns can be seen in the way we harbor certain fears. And usually our biggest fear, believe it or not, is the one that we need to overcome the most. And it sounds like the last thing that anyone would want to do, including me. But acknowledging those fears that stand out to you as the most, you feel the most vulnerable in, or vulnerable to, and like, I could never get over this, or this is just how I am, or this is what I've learned in my life, or my parents always worried about money, so I'm going to always worry about money. There's all the self-talk that goes on in terms of our own fears and beliefs about ourselves that usually are what we need to let go of and overcome, because those greatest fears, those greatest blocks, are those that are from a past lifetime. And it could be a matter of, a past lifetime where you didn't have enough, you died from starvation, or you lived a life, a life of being poor and struggling to survive, and now you've carried this unknowingly into this life, where there's always this, and sometimes it's not even apparent. It may not be a matter of, oh, my parents were this way. It's just, there may be this built-in fear about not having enough money, for example, and that limits and controls us in moving forward and achieving all that we can. And the bigger picture is, we may have, that may be our main life purpose in this life, to let that go and realize we can bring abundance in. And oftentimes our fears, we get so controlled and limited by them, that actually we manifest them as reality. So, and I've been told this through sessions and QHHT sessions, really, really try to avoid thinking of the worst case scenario, or stop thinking about the worst that could happen in a particular situation, or even when it comes to self-talk, like, I'm going to pass out if I have to go speak in front of a large group. If we say it, we manifest it, and our body's always listening to us. As I've discussed in these previous videos, our body's always listening. So if we're saying, I'm going to pass out, there's a really good chance our body's going to be like, okay, she's on the stage. Boom, or boom. That's someone falling. So the point of this is to really just say that there are a lot of ways in which past life experiences can influence us in this life. Not always. So don't suddenly try to spend your days trying to figure out what's yours in this life and what's not, because in all reality, and I talked about this way back in another video, well, a couple episodes back, that all our lives are happening all the time. It's not really past life. It's not really future life. It's not really present life. We're experiencing all our lifetimes all at once. This may stretch your brain a little bit, and I've tried to figure out in the past, and I've been told time and time again, no matter how hard you try, you are human. there is certain limits to what you can comprehend and understand. So just go with it and trust it. So I'll put that little disclaimer in there. We just need to focus on this life. So with soul inquiries question, we've died in so many different ways with different struggles and trauma. How or what do I need to do in this life? Again, it's just looking at the patterns. That's really one of the easiest ways. So if you have chronic fears of spiders or chronic fears of heights, these are some clues that may really, really help you to decipher at least part of your life plan and purpose in order for you to move forward in the best way possible. So that's one suggestion without having an actual QHHT session. But really, they don't want us, and when I say they, I mean higher selves and our spirit teams. They don't want us to be so consumed by, for example, knowing past lives. I'm an example of a person who went into hypnosis. I wasn't shown a past lifetime. It was in the moment, kind of let down and frustrating to me. But when it got to the point where the person who was conducting my session asked, why wasn't there a lifetime for him to see? And my higher self and my spirit team said, well, he'll think too much about it. Retrospect, I would probably, and so in a way they did me a favor, and that it's really okay, because I recognize we are in a time where, according to higher selves and our galactic community that's out there, we don't really need to worry as much about our past lifetimes, because part of this huge transition that we're going through in terms of the shifts and changes in energies in the earth, we're getting we're being given the choice to either stay in kind of the hamster wheel of multiple lifetimes and karma, or we can choose to move on to something better. And actually, I shouldn't use the word better, something different, and a new way of existence and learning process and spiritual growth and expansion. There are those that, it's not actually a yes or no choice, or I'm going to pick this or that. It's just through our actions and our way of being in the world. So if you're not the type that particularly cares about any of this stuff, which if you're watching this, I'm guessing that you do, but there are those people that want nothing to do with spirituality and they talk about the shift in the earth and change in vibrations and higher consciousness and 5D. Just by kind of pushing that off to the side and being like, I have to focus on my work day, or I have some laundry and grocery shopping to do. That just by those actions or those decisions is inherently the choice of, okay, I'm going to stay on the karmic wheel. However, you're watching and others are on this journey and this quest to remember who we are and remember all the actually this knowledge is ancient and something that we're just needing to remember, essentially. That in itself is the choice to leave these karmic ties behind and leave the strong connection between past lifetimes and what you experience here and now. So I hope that answers your question, soul inquiries, and any questions. I realize that not everyone has the concept of past lifetimes under wraps or, feel comfortable and secure about that. It's not, we do have them, but it shouldn't consume us is the best way to put it. So I'm going to bring up the next question. I did have to split this one up. So are people bringing things forward from past lives to complete an experience or maybe transform from it? Also, do they have ability to release themselves from it at any time in this lifetime? That would be interesting, because then people wouldn't need to feel stuck or trapped by past life issues or even suffer from them. So this comes from Richie's Reach, who is awesome. If you haven't, he also has a YouTube channel, so I definitely recommend checking that out when you have the time. So in essence, this kind of answers the last question a little bit. We do bring stuff forward from past lives to sometimes complete an experience. And I do want to kind of stop there for a second, because even though we do plan out our life paths ahead of time, and we're just kind of all actors in the stage of life, literally, um, there are ways in which things may get off track. We have free will, and that's always something that to keep in mind is there is a path, there is a track in place that we are, to follow, but it's flexible. I don't want to say we set it out to where it's, I'm going to be working here. This is going to be how much money I have in my bank account. It's not that technical. It's more of and these lessons are more sometimes very simple. It can be about what it means to be loved by a family, or someone who in a past life might have always had a huge family and was so consumed by it and hated the drama and went into depression. Who knows what happened? And then they come in to this life thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to learn the other side of the coin. I want to know what it's like to be completely independent, to not have a big family or big family ties, to be not subject to the drama associated with being in a family, and see what that's like. Is it better? Is it worse? In spiritual perspective, nothing's better or worse. It's just all learning. So in that essence, that would be one way we would, quote unquote, bring something in with us from a past life. Karma is another topic as well. And I also kind of want to stop here as well, because there is this one thing that's really important is, and this has come through several times in sessions with clients and speaking with their higher selves, that our understanding, or more so the westernized kind of version of karma, isn't the full picture. And in a sense, Western culture is all about crime and punishment. Karma isn't about, or crime and punishment, about reward and punishment. That's another topic for another day. But it's about just the balancing of energies. And that's what's really important to understand about it, because I have noticed just in the shows that I've been on and some of the comments, there is this kind of tendency for people to automatically see discussions about health and wellness, and how sometimes we bring in, we might be experiencing a disease, or we might be experiencing a pain because we did something really bad in a past life. That's not, at least in my experience, that's not the case. It usually happens in other ways. So especially in terms of healing, and if you've been watching these videos, I don't want anyone to think, oh, I did something bad, therefore I deserve this chronic illness or pain. It's not how it works. It's more of a balance, and we're supposed to be healthy all the time. So it's physical health and well-being, I don't think really has a firm connection with you killed somebody in a past life, therefore you're going to have cancer, because our physical body is more about messaging. Sometimes we carry things over. Sometimes, and not everyone likes to hear this, and I understand why, I am human as well. Sometimes we do choose to experience a physical illness or a physical ailment in order to learn from it. And that's what's important. It's not, oh, I want to live a life of disease just for the fun of it. It is for learning. And the way that it's for learning is, what would you learn by being ill? Or maybe you currently have a chronic pain or chronic illness. What do you, just taking a step back from it and thinking, what have I learned about myself? What have I learned in this life that I couldn't have learned otherwise? And this could go in many different directions. But the thing about, and this even goes with bodies that are, quote, not normal. If you're familiar with Dolores Cannon, and this has come through my sessions as well, the waiting line in spirit to take on what are classified as, and I don't like this word, but disabled bodies, special needs, all that. Those are spirits. The line to have those types of lifetimes are the longest on the other side. The reason being is you can learn so much in one lifetime compared to other soul experiences where you have it easy an entire life. You don't really have any challenges. You don't have any worries. You just coast through. You really don't learn that much. In terms of quote unquote this special needs type of lifetimes, you're not only learning about yourself, but you're also learning about culture, society, expectations, also how people respond to you. And in a sense, you're teaching them about aspects of themselves and how they respond to people who, may be physically different than them, or living in a world that is made for a specific type of quote unquote normal body. I use those terms loosely because we don't have the terminology to really describe our bodies in ways that don't create some type of hierarchy. So it's important to understand that we, on the surface, we may see something or diagnose something or treat something that our body is exhibiting, but there's a lot more to the story from the spiritual side. So with that said, I think that I injected as much as I could in terms of re-understanding karma from a more spiritual perspective. It's a balancing of energy. There's no right and wrong, bad or good on the spiritual side. So when it applies to karma, this was a bad action, therefore you're going to have a bad result, or something that you experience that's bad. It's more about you've put the energies in imbalance. You, for example, created harm to someone in a past life or killed them in a past life. Therefore, there needs to be rebalancing or equilibrium that occurs by whatever that might be in this life. So in terms of Richie's reach, sorry, Richie, it's all about learning. So regardless of what you experience, what you bring into this life, it's because we're learning, and that's ultimately will always lead to transformation. Also, do they have the ability to release themselves from it any time in this lifetime? That's a complicated question, and it really depends on the individual person, what they experienced in their own set of lifetimes, and what their life path is. In my last video, I did talk about the possibility that we may trigger, or things that we experience or counter in this life may trigger, I call it an energetic memory from a past life that begins bringing in all these physical traits and sometimes illness and disease associated with a past lifetime. And it's a matter of communicating with our physical body and saying, hey, this is not mine, this is a past lifetime. But that information typically it's accessible to us, but it's difficult for us to know. And there's always that gray area in terms of, if it's part of our life plan, we can't be told about it because that would be interfering. Like if someone came in and said, okay, you chose to have cancer in this life, that might be controversial for someone to find out. There's a lot of mystery that's at play when we play out these lifetimes, and it's only because if we already know the answer to the test, or we already know the answer to, we already know the lesson before we start, the learning doesn't really happen, and we have to learn through experience. That's the way that transforms us and leads us to more expansion and more knowledge. And um, um, that's part of the human experience. So anytime in this life, I kind of brought up in this video, it's looking at the patterns. And so it's not, sometimes it's through our actions and working with our belief systems and working with our self-talk. If we're saying we can't do something, or we're afraid of something, or terrified, or I'm going to die if I have to talk in front of a large group, those are usually clues to what we need to overcome based on our past life experiences. And so it is possible to release some of them, but some of them may not be past life related. But sometimes just asking these types of questions and wondering will bring answers to us and little hints. It is possible to ask our higher selves and spirit teams, even if you feel like you or believe you have a strong connection with them, they are always there. Ask them and saying, I'm curious about if this pattern that I experience or see in my life, is this related to a past life? Or if this is a physical ailment that's not mine, it feels foreign, I'm usually really healthy. If this is something that is from another lifetime, please release it for me. I don't need to carry that. It's a different life, a different time. And I already have enough going on in this lifetime to be carrying someone else. I mean, it's still you, but someone else's way. So all in all, this is, I guess, an introduction to past lifetimes, or, firming out some of the details in terms of they're not something to be afraid of. They're not something to stress over, and they're definitely not something to distract you from what you're doing in your day-to-day life. However, the knowledge that we can gain from them, and the knowledge that we do gain from them, is meant to help us in this life as the best way possible. And it's not supposed to be stressful. It's nothing different than we've experienced before. It's just we've been in a process for the past 70 years or so to where this information is being revealed to us, and we've been on this track for a while. However, there are some cultures and a lot of religions out there that recognize multiple lifetimes. That's a whole other topic and area in itself. So it's not really anything new. It's just we're coming to a point where it's becoming more mainstream, and we are ready for this knowledge. And there is, a next level waiting for us in terms of, once we recognize this, understand it, adopt it into our belief systems and our way of being, that we'll be ready to move to the next stage and the next level that has to do with all that's going on energetically in the earth and so on. So this video was a little bit longer. I just really wanted to address these questions, and also just I wanted to release the idea or the belief that if you're experiencing physical pain, if you're experiencing hardships in this lifetime, it's not because you deserve it, and it's not because you're being punished. That's not the way the spirit world works. And spirituality, we make choices, we deal with the consequences, but it's never a form of punishment or a form of reward. And that's I guess the overall crux of this episode today. We do have multiple lifetimes. We do influence, or we are influenced in certain ways by past lifetimes. The 2.0 version of this is sometimes we influence other lifetimes regardless of time period that they occurred in, which that's a whole other topic and whole other level. I will say about that it makes working on ourselves in the present life that we're aware of, that you're watching me now, more important and more powerful, because the choice is to overcome limitations or overcome fears, or to work on healing and releasing certain things in our body, or working on understanding our life path and purpose in this life is healing in their own ways for other lives, because we impact our other lives just as much as, well, I'm not going to say that because I don't know if that's the case, but I was going to say just as much as they affect us. So thank you for watching. So that if you have questions, I'm sure there will be many with this episode. I feel like I was rambling, but that's okay. I just wanted to kind of explore this and open it up to any questions you might have about lifetimes and how to work with that idea and kind of bring it in and adopt it into your current life. So I am Jason Tempinski, psychic medium, level 2 QHHT practitioner, psychic soul body wellness, and spiritual counselor. Thank you for watching. If you have comments again, or questions again, please post them in the comments below. Feel free to email me at jason@jasonqhht.com. And also, if you're interested in booking a session with me, please visit my website, just jasonqhht.com. I do readings online and counseling online and other services. QHHT I do in person. And really, the best way to get these, deeper questions about your specific life, I would have a session. Not just, I'm not, if you're interested in a session, I would definitely follow that little nudge, which there are always practitioners in different areas throughout the country, throughout the world. If you go to the QHHTofficial.com website, you can search by area and region to find someone who resonates with you. So until next time, thank you so much, and I will see you again.